Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. The President of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Arap Ruto, should stop listening to a clique of his friends and advisors within UDA, within Statehouse, or even the government, and pay attention to what the likes of Sabina Chege are telling him. Sabina Chege is telling the president the gospel truth that Kuria, Ndindi Nyoro, Kimani Chungwa, or all those other fellows either shy away from telling him or do not have the audacity to tell him. But this is what can change things for the president.
And where we are today, but what is currently happening, and I wish we can be able to do, is look at the issues, because now this young generation will now go and get their IDs and they are going to vote because they have seen their voice matters. But they have also seen that, yes, you talked about the UDA talking about issues, but basically it was about personalities. If you look at it, the narrative was hustlers versus dynasties.
Yes,
but why did the narrative come? Because there was one person who was being targeted. And the whole target was, we are targeting Uhuru Kenyatta, who is a son of a former president. We are targeting Raila Odinga, who is also a son of
a former vice president.
A former vice president. So these are the dynasties. Yeah, so we are the children of nobody. So we are the hustlers. And so we are coming to form the government of the children of nobodies. But when the reality hit, is this government a hustler's government? That is a bigger question.
Now our guest is Sabina Chege, Member of Parliament, Maito Waf.
Because they are the ones who voted and believed that all the solutions they thought Uhuru did not listen to them or did not offer them, they knew this was now the final, or this was the government that was supposed to deliver them.
This one understood them.
Understood them, yeah. Right. And they felt like Uhuru took he was at a distance. He never mingled with them. Uhuru never made many trips, and they also accused him that most of the times that he went to the mountain, he only went to attend weddings or funerals. So Uhuru never went to
Nakua Somea.
Yes, he never went to and when he called people at the Sagana, that was the Somea part. Yeah. But he never now went, what we have seen with the current president, that every week he's on the ground, he's on top of a vehicle. It's like he's still campaigning. But for me, and again, that's my opinion, I believe there's time for everything. That there's time to go to the ground and talk to people, and there's time to sit in the office and strategize.
And deliver.
Because what would happen, and this is a temptation that we as all politicians get through, if I go to the ground today, I'll find there's a child who never went to school. I'll find there's a family that might be a body that is detained in the morgue. I'll find many problems. And as the nature of a politician, I would try to impress those people. So sometimes I may overpromise. I may mean well. But if I go to this a certain village and they say, we really need this road, it is very hard for me to tell them I don't have a budget, which is supposed to be, it's okay, I've heard you. We don't have the budget, but we can put in the next financial year. But once you come and tell people, we will do so. Vile mheshimiwa wenyu amesema, ile ameuliza huyu ni rafiki wangu, nitamwekea milioni 200, 300. And then it doesn't happen. So what will you tell those people when you go there next? And that is why we have seen, I think this young man called Mora has been trying to follow up. Morara has been trying to follow up on the projects that maybe the president launched or relaunched, but really nothing has happened because everything in the government works with a budget. And I think Uhuru was one straightforward person. And he would say, we have a problem with the young people. We have this is what we can be able to do for now. He was straightforward. But I think sometimes also, I always say maybe the leaders that we have is a reflection of the people. We also.
Please continue.
And that's why budgeting comes in, because this amount of money for this financial year, we will cover 10 or 20 kilometers. And then the next 20 will be covered in the next financial year. One of the reasons why we said we want to work with the government and support the government was for the continuity of the many projects, because some of them we understood very well. If I go to my village, Kangari Market, there was a Modidi Market, there were those markets that had been started, some of them were 60%, 80% complete, and so we needed them to be completed. Yeah. But you see, it will also be ridiculous for you to say we don't have money for Mau Mau roads, and you have started a Mau Mau Lot B in another section of Murang'a. So why don't you first?
Lot A is not complete.
Yes, why don't you then complete the first one and then continue with the second one? So basically, those are some of the things, and I say we need to work as a team and stop
and deliver.
Going, start talking about individuals, because what is happening today, tomorrow things might change.
What Sabina Chege is saying there is very clear, that he must just stop those rallies, go back. I know there is that temptation, and Sabina Chege is saying there is always a temptation for politicians to keep plugging, to keep contact with the voters, because they've always felt like they can lose it. And I know that I've been analyzing this channel that the president have insecurity of tenure, and always wants to do something, always wants to be hands on ground, and not for any other reason, but just to try to ensure that he's not off the hook. But it is high time you stop those rallies, because the moment you are still talking to people, you are still promising, and I like what she's saying, that some of these things can be done by the ministers. William Ruto's ministers are very invisible. If you compare Ruto's cabinet with that Uhuru's cabinet, this cabinet we have is very invincible. You cannot say them. And the best example is what happened today. On this Thursday, the president was with Governor Sakaja in Nairobi on a project on Nairobi River, degeneration. And that project it is just the cleaning project of Nairobi River. That project was the one that was being done by Rigathi Gachagua, and it was under the office of the deputy president. But that project was taken away from that office, technically. And I believed if that degeneration project was to happen in Nairobi, it could as well be done by just Rigathi Gachagua. But I am not gullible enough to, of course, agree that maybe because Rigathi Gachagua do not have a good relationship with Sakaja. And Matakwe Mobimba, this is the Korogocho member of County Assembly, told the president, and he took the microphone before when the president was there, and was telling the president things that he wants the locals to do. I want you to watch this video and look at how the president reacted to the requests that Mobimba was actually putting there.
Tuko na mheshimiwa Ngeno kujeni, na tuko na Matachi Mobimba Matakwe, na tuko na Ringo wako wapi? Salimiana.
Korogocho Mheshimiwa Rais, mimi nataka niseme hii mambo ya manyumba. Watu wa Korogocho hawawezi lipa nyumba hiyo pesa umesema. Sawa. Ninaomba Rais, wale watu walibomolewa hapa wapatiwe nyumba bure. Mheshimiwa Rais, nataka niseme hivi. Hapa Korogocho ward unaona kuna stima. Hapa hakuna stima. Walikata stima, miaka nenda, miaka rudi. Tunataka rudisha stima. Hapa Korogocho ward hakuna sewer line. Ndio maana unaona hii mto ni chafu. Tunataka urekebisha Nairobi, na hapa Korogocho ina work. Ile kazi nimefanya hakuna mtu achawaifanya kwa miaka 2. Hakuna. Na nitafanya kazi. My name is Matakwe Mobimba.
Mimi hatutaki kuzidisha kupita hapo. Maneno ya sewage line ni vile governor amesema. Maneno ya kutengeneza siwa hapa ni lazima, na tutaungana na NEMA, tutaungana na county ya Nairobi na national government tuhakikisha kwamba hakuna siwa tena katika mto wetu. Ile huyu muungwana amesema ya kwamba mnataka hiyo bei ya nyumba ikuje chini. Mimi nimesikia na tutafanya hivyo. So
now that is what we are talking about. Sewage, affordable housing, watu nyumba zao zimebomolewa. Those people cannot afford those houses. And what that MCA is saying is the truth. Wale watu wamebomolewa, they cannot afford those social houses that the president says in that affordable housing. Just in the same breath, during the same event, William Ruto promised, to revamp that Nairobi River mpaka some fishing can be done there. They even do fish rearing there, so that people do fishing in Nairobi here. Je, kuna vitu zingine hata unaangalia unasema sasa what exactly is the president saying? So those are the things that Sabina Chege was raising, that the more you come in public, there is always a demand, there is always a need. In fact, hata in the first video ukisikia hapo kuna mtoto hapo anapewa full scholarship. One. Of course, that is examples of you may not be able to furnish all of them. Then, however, the challenge that Kenya Kwanza faces is a big transition. How they changed from seeking divine solutions, from a godly, a government that was based on what God had decided, into seeking human solutions, something that ridiculously Sabina Chege is raising here.
What is happening today, tomorrow things might change. So the issue of individuals or who is the leader, who will be the leader, would come in might be at the 2027 or late 2026. At that time, we had the East and there was the issue of Mogoka, there was the issue of Mira. Where did that issue go to? We as leaders, are we also looking at the solution? If this cannot work, then what are we offering these people of the East? I think we need to start looking at the issues that are affecting our people. But unfortunately, and this is not only happening in central Kenya or Mount Kenya, almost even in the Rift Valley and other regions, people are not happy. And so what will happen? We might have a very high turnover of leaders come 2027 if we are not careful on how we are going to handle our issues. If we don't now move away from the old way of doing things, of saying I'm from Mount Kenya, of saying I'm from here or from Coast. I think the whole issue is we have, like, for instance, our students who are in the universities. When the issue of school fees comes in, you are not... It's
all of them.
It's not about Mount Kenya or whichever region. It's about we have this problem, how do we solve it? When our teachers decide that they are not going back to school, our children are being affected. So is it an issue of a region? No. It's the entire nation. So I wish now these leaders, if Mount Kenya leaders come up and they want to say, this is what we want to champion. We are opening parliament on 17th. So then what are we supposed to be pushing as we open parliament? So we have the leader of majority. Instead of him going to radio stations and talking about an individual, he should be mobilizing the people and saying, I'm the leader of majority. We have these bills coming up in parliament. Could you guys arm yourself and start researching and start coming in numbers? Let us be on time in parliament. Let us participate in parliament, because these bills, we will help our people. Unfortunately, when the finance bill came in, majority of the members of parliament never read it, never understood it. And also even the leadership that was there in parliament did not find it important to go out and explain to the people on what was the content. Because initially, the bill was a proposal. Then there was what was done by the committee. And I will tell you, the committee did a fantastic job, even taking the views from the people. But people didn't even take time to read the content of the committee report. And because it was so much rushed, so people are suspicious. What is this thing that's being so much rushed? What are they hiding? You see? So then the suspicion came in. But I believe if the leaders took time to go to the TVs, to go to the radio station and explain this was a proposal, this are our thoughts now as a committee, then what else do you people want we remove from the bill?
Yeah.
That bill would have sailed, because there were also some things that were good. But people became emotional and people also became arrogant. And it is also important that we leaders know that as we go begging, as we humble ourselves when we're looking for votes, let's continue with the same humility. But when you start chest thumping, when you start, showing opulence, when you start showing like the don't care attitude, now we have all the numbers. So even now the ODM is government opposition. So then we are going to say, what, mutake musitake,
we have the numbers, we are confident.
Exactly. And that's why you saw young people even coming to parliament. So we need also to be very humble. We need humility. And I would say the Kenya Kwanza government came in the issue of church, we believe in God, and I think every conversation they started with Bwana Asifiwe. But the Bwana Asifiwe has faded. They have kept the Bible down now. And now they are looking for solutions from people, not from God. Initially, even remember when there was no rain, there were prayers at Nyayo Stadium, praying for rain. But when the political issue came, they went to look for political friends so that then they can come together and now have numbers in parliament. But what happened to your God that you so much believed in, and who gave you all the solution? And I think that is the reality of the matter. That is where we need to start and think about 2027. It's not about regions. It will be about these people, the issues that the people are looking at.
And I like the example she's putting, that even the time, and I was in Nyayo in February, I can remember it was Valentine's Day, February 2023, there were prayers in Nyayo Stadium to pray for rainfall. Yes. Whenever there was a problem, even after Statehouse, and look at the way religion was used. In fact, if there is something I always say that, on a light note, even God might not be happy. Maybe we just need to be more, serious. Even that God might not be happy, because we brainwashed even the church and postured as people who are going to offer solutions. And like the religion is going to offer solution because this is a government that has been put to power by God. And so everything was to happen in the right way. But that was not even achieved. And that is why I can say without fear of contradiction that the 2027 election is very difficult for President William Ruto. Contrary to some pedestrian thinking, some pedestrian thoughts that because William Ruto has gotten a broad-based government with Raila Odinga, so he has his way in 2027. Some people have even said that, if Raila Odinga goes to AU, then all the Luos are going to vote, and all the Luos and the ODM supporters are going to vote for William Ruto. Contrary to that line of thinking and the confidence in tribal mobilization that the president and the team are putting in place, the 2027 poll is very different and might be very difficult for the president. And I want to tell you the reason why that is there is because these young people have started looking at governance on a different lens, with a different lens. The tribal lens that has been used for decades, its significance is slowly fading. In 2027, some of the people that are going to vote were people that were born in 2009. Some of these young people do not even know whether he doesn't even care whether he's a Kikuyu, a Luo, or is what. My children may not be, are struggling to speak my mother tongue. Yes. My young girl, Kayla, do not know the Luo. She doesn't know the Luo. Now tell me, when it will come a time when she's supposed to go to school, maybe to make a decision on voting, do you think you can convince that lady, that young girl, that she needs to vote for someone because that person comes from his or from her tribe? Perhaps no. Now that card is slowly fading, and the political elites are not ready for it. In fact, they don't want to see that transition happening. And that transition is happening by force, by fire. Now let me tell you why William Ruto will find 2027 elections the most difficult for him. The 2022 victory came as a blessing in disguise. Remember, William Ruto became president after running, not because he had a very good idea. I normally see people saying that Ruto had a very good plan. No. People did not buy the plan. Ruto came to president because he successfully convinced the country that Uhuru Kenyatta was bad. And so Uhuru Kenyatta and anyone who Uhuru Kenyatta was supporting was not supposed to be in power. But his presidency has also exposed him badly. It has also exposed him that he's much of the talking president with the less action. There are two things that his presidency has exposed. The presidency has exposed that he might have the political software, the political manipulation tool, but might not have the system and the architect of running government. There is a difference between Uhuru and Ruto. Let me tell you, Uhuru used to be very brutal. Uhuru used to, and akienda event, would just read his speech. Akishasoma hiyo speech, and only a few people will be given microphone to talk, and people within government, not politicians. But each Sunday unaenda, you go to Nairobi River Degeneration, then you give microphone to MCAs and MPs around that place. They speak something that is going to excite the crowd, then they put you under pressure. Then you find yourself just speaking about things that you might not be able to achieve. It's a big problem because at the end of the day, the voters are noting it down. The media is noting it down. In 2027, when you go back to Korogocho, those residents will tell you that on date 12/9/2024, September, you came here, you promised that we will get houses because our houses are demolished. You promised that we will get power. We still have those power problems. Because remember, there is no guarantee that presidential proclamations are being followed with actions. Some cannot be done. Some are just left as hearsay. So those are the two things that is a bit trickle. And why the campaigns are difficult is because there is a pool of pending promises that the public are questioning. And not because it is wrong to promise. What is causing pending promises is an attempt, irresistible urge to try to excite the crowd. You just say things. How can you say that people will be doing fishing in Nairobi River? How do you get the guts of saying that? Surely it won't happen. It won't happen. Someone will write down there, and then some of those promises look ridiculous. Zingine zinaka jokes. Zingine zinaka jokes. For example, if you tell these city dwellers that they will do fishing, okay, how is it even going to help? Fine, fishing is in the lake. Sasa hiyo Nairobi River ni samaki tutatoa tunauza ama samaki ya kukula? So the question of pending promises is going to haunt. The other thing is the hope of changing fortunes of Kenyans. You know, in politics, you must always sell hope. You must always tell people that if you elect me, things are going to change. The element of change is not there. The president has been rallies. He's been going on with the promises. So even when you go back in 2027, what is this new thing you're going to tell them? And the other thing is the president might resort to tokenism to excite the crowd. He might end, I can tell you that towards 2027, the president might recycle giving youth groups the motorbikes, the boda, the you know, those things, the sewing machine, water cylinders, and those are the things. He might end up doing that, but the country will really expose him, and the other leaders might shy away from tagging him along, because the moment you realize president kuja kugrandea kata promise kitu alafu hatafanya, then the voters will come after you. What you will do, you will stop walking around with the president. So agree with what Sabina Chege is saying. They must just go back to Statehouse and work. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I need to remind you, I am going back to Kilifi for phase 2 of the project. So we repaired around 8 houses. We were supposed to construct 4. So I left someone on ground. We're doing the first two. So I'm going to, of course, just inspect the 2 houses that were already built. Then after we hand them over, we are doing the phase 2 of that project, which is to construct another 2 houses. And now the phase 2 is just to commission the other 2. I'll have to buy, we're supposed to buy for them some utensils and the thing, house chores too, vitu za kupikia, and the other one was about what? Was about solar. We're going to put up some solar in some of those houses. Then the other 2 will also start constructing. So we'll be back to Kilifi tomorrow. So join up those who had already promised and were feeling like they had been left out. No, phase 2 is starting tomorrow. So tuonane Kilifi and see you then.